what do you think as a young generation which is coming in the sustainability domain? Do you think this is the future? Do you think in the next 20, 30 years, the sustainability across the globe, which doesn't have any border, because like American working in India, Indian working in America, so like what do you suggest for the young people to opt this as a career opportunity?
They become very distant and separated from the building process. They don't know materiality, they don't know the strengths and weaknesses of certain kinds of materials, the life cycle, the age, the durability. So I think the distance that is separating engineering and architecture should somehow be brought back together.
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast again, and we are very special guest today, and we have a very international renowned sustainability expert in this domain. So I want to welcome Mr. Kevin Sullivan in our podcast. So Kevin has a more than 3 decades experience in sustainability across the globe, not only the one country, across the globe. So we will have a great round of questions and answers, and I'm sure that you will learn so many new things, what's happening across the globe in sustainability. So welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you again.
And absolutely, that welcome in Pink City first of all, because you have been travel a lot. So I want to take one question, Kevin. That can you tell me your journey first of all? That how you started your career in India? Because the challenge I have seen, the people want to start career from America, and you as an American, you started your career in India. So what was that?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try and shorten it for you, Ashu. I can't say I started in India, but I think I learned a lot from coming to India. I'm an urban planner from America, trained in America, and my first job was working in New York City in doing affordable housing. And what I discovered was that although we were building affordable homes, they were only affordable in the sense that they were low cost to purchase. And what I found over time was that families couldn't afford the utilities in those homes. Although they were constructed well, we hadn't considered the long-term life cycle costs of owning a home. And so I came to sustainability through what I might call sustainability by necessity. That is, the affordability of the homes you're building could only be done through building green homes. And so we started one of the first green homes programs in New York. And that sustainability by necessity was a philosophy I carried over into India, and it was a logical link to make, because India really started its sustainability journey out of necessity.
Right.
Finite resources, scarce water, scarce materials led to a deep-rooted tradition of sustainability. There really was no other way. It wouldn't even be called sustainability. It would be called how you need to build things in an environment of scarce resources. So I came as a research scholar with the Energy and Resources Institute in Delhi, and was a Fulbright scholar there to study India. So I was an American coming over, looking to learn lessons from India, and I think India was the right place at the right moment at that time to really look at how India was making the most out of an environment of necessity in having to deal with the challenges of climate and booming population, a booming economy at that time in 2005 when I came. So I'd say that was the beginning of my journey.
Great. I think even because which I saw your profile, you 2005 I think you came to India in Delhi, and that was the movement started, the green building movement in India. Because I graduated in 2008, I can see that how this movement in the last 17 years where we are today. So, but after I see that you have been to the Singapore and other countries, part of the Asian countries, how do you differ like India growth as compared to the other countries in the sustainability domain especially?
Well, I think India was blessed in a way that its growth was not as rapid and not as purely based on technology. You had a longer time, I would say, to incubate your own vernacular-based. You have a long tradition of what we now call sustainable architecture, but which was by tradition vernacular architecture built by necessity of local resources, local craftsmen. And so I think you had a longer incubation period, and institutes like Terry and others really promoted the idea of this locally based, locally grounded. And so you didn't go straight to high-tech solutions, technology solutions, energy-intensive solutions. And I think India continues to be a leader in the field of, for example, your office itself is a perfect example of modernizing traditional vernacular resource, I would say wise use of resources. And I think other countries, I went to Singapore after that, worked a lot in Asia, and then went to Dubai and worked out of Dubai. And I always thought the rush towards a high-tech, high energy intensive, high resource intense solution shortcut other solutions which may have been more appropriate at the time.
Very nice. I think you mentioned about our building tour. So would you like to explain that how was your experience in the building tour? What did you feel that, because this is the first time you in India in our office, I don't want to miss a chance to take a feedback from you about our building.
Well, I have to say it was very inspiring because it took me back to my roots and my origins in looking at sustainability sort of from the ground up. And I think what you guys have done is something your young architect who took me on the tour said. What's interesting is we didn't actually innovate anything that was not always already innovated by your predecessors. All we did was we modernized it and we brought it up to date and made it more practical for the modern world. And you did it all at the same cost as conventional construction and a fraction of operational costs.
Right.
And so I think this is what's often the market will be skeptical of green building when they think it is a premium, that is they have to spend more for it, and some kind of luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And you've proven in a commercial building, you need to be cost effective, practical, and it needs to be a building that's well adapted to its climate and also to the people working there. And I think you've managed to achieve that balance also in a very aesthetically beautiful way. And I love how the building is kind of a museum and it teaches you as you walk through it. Now that was a vision I had coming to India now 20 years ago. And I think in some cases you've maintained this tradition, other cases you've gone other routes, you've gone the glass and steel and air conditioning routes, even though it may not have been so appropriate. But it's really inspiring to see that this tradition is still alive and the tradition is still very, very relevant to what's being built.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for this feedback, because this is a building we want to break the myth of the people like green building is not very expensive, and green building is not only the big building can go green, the smaller building can also go green. So that is something we want to take up there. Thank you so much. And I think Kevin, because we have a lot of Indian audience of this podcast, I want to understand from you, like, what do you think as a young generation which is coming in the sustainability domain? Do you think this is the future? Do you think in the next 20, 30 years, the sustainability across the globe, which doesn't have any border, because like American working in India, Indian working in America, so like what do you suggest for the young people to opt this as a career opportunity?
Well, I think and I speak to a lot of young Indian architects and global architects, and I've taught in universities, and I think there's two skills which are being lost. And I spoke to your young architects as I was walking through the building, and that is that architects don't know how to build anymore. They've become very distant and separated from the building process. They don't know materiality, they don't know the strengths and weaknesses of certain kinds of materials, the life cycle, the age, the durability, and all that is critical in building the building. And so I think the distance that is separating engineering and architecture should somehow be brought back together. So that's one thing. The second is, architects today need to be so much more than draftspeople. You don't get paid for making pretty drawings anymore. What you're really looking for is someone who has an awareness of very, very deep ecological trends. What is the long-term climate prediction in the place you're working? What are the resources that are available and maybe being depleted in your area? What are the substitutes for those resources? And at the policy level, architects really also need to be policy focused. You're not going to make the kinds of change to address the climate crisis if you're only looking at a single building at a time or a building typology, or even at a city level for that matter. You need to be looking at national level, state level, and that applies to India as well as the United States. We both have federalist types of systems where at the center they can set a certain vision for the nation, but a lot of the work is done at the state level.
Right.
You can see very progressive states like Rajasthan and Kerala and other states which have sort of pushed the boundaries of things of innovation. But you need to have a mindset that all of India and all of the world ultimately needs to be moving towards a common goal. And architects need to be aware of what that goal is and what it will take. From the micro level, in your building, whatever small problem you're dealing with that has an energy or water implication, you need to see the connection and the scalability all the way up through your city and your region and your country and ultimately globally. And that's the only way it makes a very large, abstract challenge like the climate crisis, makes it relevant to you in your work every day.
Absolutely, Kevin. I think this is totally agree on that. Last question. Like everyone is talking about AI, that AI is going to change the job. Do you think how AI can enhance the productivity of sustainability? That the demand of sustainability and AI, how can you relate that?
Well, I think sometimes there's a lot of mythology around what AI is. It's a large language model, which means it's scraping up massive amounts of data from the internet. Well, where is the data from the internet coming from? Well, it's coming from us, from humans, ultimately. So what will it make of that data? Well, it can process data very rapidly. Can it draw in a way that is as clever and solutions-minded as a human? Possibly. I think we're getting close to that. If you give it relatively routine protocols to design a 2 or 3 family house, definitely. And that will certainly affect mass architecture, especially in the residential space. But that's already been happening. And I think the challenge will really be how to harness AI for higher level solving solutions which require a lot of data and making that available to the designer. It's not the designer that's feeding information and the AI is giving a solution. What you're doing is you're taking the most information as you can from the internet, and then you using it as an additional tool. It's a tool like any other, like AutoCAD was back when we were in doing drafting.
Right.
It's a tool, and it will be transformational in a way, but only transformational insofar as humans use it to innovate, and I think to solve human problems.
Absolutely. I think thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. I think you have given a lot of information in this very small time, and I look forward to have your beautiful visit to Jaipur. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you.